戦するからよく見ろ証明してあげるよ何度も失敗して気が落ちるけど次やる時はきっとうまくいくだろう繰り返しても諦めるのは早いぞ
And welcome back to the Anime Egotists, where if we had a school of anime, no one would show up for class. You got me, Alex, and I'm joined by the man himself.
And I'm Richard.
That's right. And last week we talked about characters in anime who sadly should have bit the dust, or in some cases, they should have bit the dust.
Yeah, in the story, in our opinions, it would have made sense if these characters had died.
That's right, but this week we're doing things a little differently. This week are the characters who basically should have stayed alive, whether it was a case of, well, they died too soon, we didn't like necessarily the way that they died, or just a plethora of other reasons.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that the character had such potential to be an interesting or integral part of the story going forward, and then they just died. The timing might have been off on when they were killed. It just sort of depends.
Yeah. So we basically just wanted to talk about that. Characters who should have basically stayed around longer. And admittedly, some of these are just petty, and it's just like, I want this character to stay alive because I like this character. And that's pretty much it. Because we're petty like that sometimes.
Of course.
So, shall we start?
Yes.
All right. So, I teased this last time because sadly I said Might Guy should have died, so this other character should have lived. Neji from Naruto.
100% agree.
Okay, so Neji was basically one of the better characters in Naruto. Oh, he had a pretty interesting fight with Hinata in the first part of the Chunin exams, had a pretty terrible fight with Naruto later in the Chunin exams. Mm-hmm. We've talked about that before. But basically his character he had the philosophy of you can't change your fate. Destiny is written in stone. And Naruto kind of shapes his way and thinks, no, because I used to suck and I just beat you. He shouldn't have, but still. Mm-hmm. Oh, so towards it, he'd grown up a lot in Shippuden, and finally he basically sacrifices himself to save Hinata, who was trying to sacrifice herself to save Naruto. Besides the fact that Neji was a cool character and we didn't want to see him die, his destiny was basically to do that, because as we know, his dad... Well, you explain this, because it's technically both of our answers, so you take over.
Yeah, so pretty much previously his dad had died when, I think it was the Hidden Stone Village?
It might have
been. One of them was trying to kidnap Hinata, and her dad killed him. Well, since they're identical twins, he sacrificed himself.
Yeah. So the worst part, Neji's dad basically died as a sacrifice. Neji died pretty much as a sacrifice. This is the problem with Naruto towards the end, because the idea of the scrappy underdog becoming that much more powerful and achieving his dreams compared to everybody else who was basically born to, basically given this power, they basically retconned everything, because it proved that Neji was right in the long run. He died as a sacrifice. His dad died as a sacrifice. Naruto was literally born as a messiah. It really ruined the Naruto series towards the end, because they basically just rewrit everything at the last second.
Imagine how much better it would be if, almost back to how he was, he makes a sarcastic comment as he knocks the attack out of the way instead to Hinata instead of doing that, she tries to sacrifice herself. Neji makes some sort of comment about it.
It's just like, yeah, you guys thought destiny. That's not happening this time. Not to mention, we never really got the climactic fight up between him and Lee, because sure, he and Lee are friends now, but that doesn't necessarily mean Lee's stopping and wanting to beat Neji at some point. Heck, they could have continued that in Boruto to an extent.
Yeah, that would have make an interesting relationship because I have a feeling he would be called Uncle Neji, because Hinata kind of treated him as a brother.
Yeah.
So I think there could be a really interesting relationship between Boruto and Neji.
Yeah, not to mention 1010's relationship with Neji was like the most interesting thing they gave to her. So not that they gave her that much to begin with. Then again, I have to question: would Neji want to be alive? Because if you see how miserable he is in the Rock Lee show, let's see, cross-dressing every other episode, dying. I don't know. I feel like if you were to ask Neji, he might have a different answer. He might just be like, you know what, just kill me.
Yeah, but I always pictured that the Rock Lee show is from the universe from 1010's imagination that we see, because Neji kind of acts like that in there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, you would enjoy the Rock Lee show if you just watched it with me and a couple of other people, because you seem
It
to
had
enjoy
lots
it
of
more.
alcohol.
Yeah, probably. You seem to enjoy it like the one or two times you watched it with me. When Jabari made you watch it, you were not in. You did not seem that into it, from what I've heard.
I it's one of those shows that I think I would want to watch, as you said, in a group. I don't trying to watch it on my own is just like, wow, why am I watching this? But a lot of alcohol and watching this with a group of other idiots, I think would be a lot of fun.
So if you want to see us get drunk and watch some anime, please let us know. Let us know what anime you'd like to see us watch drunk. But we both agree, Neji. How do we go about this? Do you just want to move on to your next one, or
Sure, I'll do my next one. So I'll stick with Naruto for right now, and that's Zabuza.
oh, that's not who I thought you were going to say, but okay.
I really think that this could have been an interesting him in his own eyes trying to redeem himself for his actions and how he treated God, what's his
Haku.
name? Haku.
Sorry to cut you off. So you'd want Haku to stay dead, basically.
Yeah, because I think then we could have similar to what we got with some of the returning characters, but this would have been someone we've already seen that we don't get a flashback story for. We actually knew their relationship in Naruto, and it was told pretty well already in the final war arc, where Zabuza is having to fight Haku. I think that could be kind of interesting.
That would have been a really cool idea. Not to mention in a dynamic with Suigetsu would have been really cool over the Blade. Hey, Kisame in general. Not that he necessarily had to be a good guy or anything. Far from it. He could have stayed. He instead of an anti-hero, he honestly could have been more of an anti-villain or something like that. But part of the reason. Sorry, go ahead.
I could see him popping up in certain things like the Chunin exams arc again. He could have shown up as the Mists representative or something, and having to decide, and just having him retreat or something when the sand attacks, because he doesn't want to get involved. He doesn't want to side with the Leaf. He likes the Leaf, but he knows he can't side with them, otherwise they might get involved in the war.
Yeah, not to mention I think it'd be a pretty hilarious running gag, because you know Guy and Kakashi's rivalry, right?
Yes.
I would like to think that whenever there's a tense moment between Kakashi and Zabuza, Guy's like, he's my rival. What do you have? And Zabuza just looks like, what the hell? What's this dude's problem?
Plus, I think there would be a really funny filler arc with Team Guy, and let's say Zabuza gets a team in the Mist Village, so it's Team Zabuza and Team Guy have to team up for something.
Oh, God.
Especially if we got that relationship between Zabuza and Guy.
And then at the end, Guy finally accepts Zabuza, and he says, you know what? Here. And he hands him a jumpsuit. And he hands him one of the jumpsuits. And then we get a little fantasy image of Zabuza in one of those jumpsuits posing comedically, and Zabuza's like, I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah, I think that there was potential here, and I understand why they killed him off. It was to show that that Naruto wasn't just gonna let all their characters live.
Yeah, not to mention he went out like a badass.
That is true. He sacrificed himself when he was betrayed by his mob boss, I guess.
Yeah, and also just since he didn't necessarily redeem himself in the end, but he did have like a moment of clarity, like I'm sorry for the way I treated you. I wish I could go the same place you did. And Kakashi's like, maybe you did. I'm like, did he? I don't know. Heaven and hell seem weird in the Naruto universe.
Yeah, and again, as I said, him coming back later on during the war arc and having to fight Haku would be really interesting, I think, and could have
Yeah.
gone an episode or two.
Yeah, even though I did like Kakashi taking on Haku and Zabuza, and just because you could tell Kakashi did not want to fight him.
That is true.
Fun fact though, in the abridged series, they're still Haku and Zabuza are still alive. They buried them, and it's just like, wait, oh, that was a nice snap. Wait, did they bury us? It's just like, yeah. I was like, all right, Haku, let's go. And Haku's like, okay. And then Zabuza starts singing, "Can't Touch This."
I need to watch the Naruto bridge farther in.
Yep, not to, but it's probably one of the few things you can understand because Zabuza's voice is so mumbled because of the bandages and everything.
All I know is I don't want to watch the German dubbed of this.
But you get the greatest theme song of all time.
Go watch it. It is something.
It's glorious. It's hilarious. It's so hilarious. You have to admit, it's at least funny.
Yes, it is very funny because it's the German opening, but it's sung in English.
Yeah. Anyways, though, I have other Naruto characters on my list, but we could take a little bit of a break from that.
All right.
So, okay, just to clarify, that's all the Naruto characters on your list?
Yeah, that was the last one I had.
Okay, because I have two more, but we can save that. Okay, so another one I have, Marco from Attack on Titan.
Okay,
look, I know it's Attack on Titan. People are going to die, and Marco wasn't necessarily the most important character. But hear me out. Marco was basically, he was kind of Jean's best friend, or at least he tried to be, while Jean was kind of rude and stuck up there, and basically didn't care about protecting people. He kind of just wanted to like save himself and be safe with the Titan. And Marco basically, he wanted more of that, but at the same time, he thought about, maybe I do want to save people. Maybe I do want to be the person who's helping everybody out and that sort of thing. And they become friends. And his Marco does die. Well, half of him gets completely destroyed, and the other half is just, But in my opinion, I felt like you could have built it up a little more. Have Jean and Marco be friends for a little bit of a longer period. Maybe a little bit in season 2, then have him die, because that could have shaped Jean's character a little bit. It could have been a little more of a slow burn. Not to mention, with characters dying so early and so many of them, sometimes it's hard to wonder. It's hard. It could be hard for people to interpret. Okay, am I going to be sad about this character dying, or is this just a character dying? Because not to mention, and with Jean and Eren are they're two sides of a different coin, because Jean is the character who everybody started off hating and then grew to love, while Eren's the character who everybody loved at first, and then people start to turn on him. I would have liked if Jean's basically heroic turn happened a little bit later. Not a whole lot, just a little bit later, in my opinion.
I can understand that. Yeah, it would have been interesting to see, like, him survive a bit longer, and something along the lines of, maybe John's just picking up one of his classmates. If they had designed a few of the background characters just to look a bit more than just background characters, so you knew, okay, this is someone from their class. It's obvious that they were part of it, and him realizing that what he needs to do, at least to start the arc. I think I could understand that.
Yeah, definitely. I don't have much more about to say than that. Just not necessarily keep him alive, just keep him alive a little bit longer.
I can agree with it.
Okay, what's your next one?
All right, so my next one is Gin Ichimaru from Bleach.
Okay.
So this is kind of the main bad guy, Aizen's right-hand man throughout this. It's kind of revealed at the end that he's a good guy kind of thing at the end. He's been planning to betray Aizen since the beginning. They don't really do a good job necessarily of whether he was fully a good guy or if he's just deciding he wants the power. But I would really think that they could have done something interesting with his character where he, if he had survived his injuries and him tried to redeem himself in the arc that's supposed to be coming out. I think it's later this year or early next year for Bleach that they're finally making the end of the series in the anime form. So I think mostly I really liked his character. I didn't know what to think of him at first when I first saw him when he's revealed at the gate when Ichigo is trying to save Rukia. But overall, I just think they really lost the potential of a good redemption arc in the final battle of the series.
I guess I can sign on for that. Basically because yeah, I always have a thing for villain sidekicks. Sometimes the villain sidekicks end up being even more important than the actual villains themselves. So, but like I said, I don't have a whole lot more to add to that. So I guess I can co-sign.
Okay,
All right, my next one.
go right ahead.
Oh boy, Mommy from Puella Madoka. You know the show I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Mommy was kind of Mommy. That's going to be a confusing name. She was one of the first magical girls, and with Cube, they're teaching everybody. Okay, this is basically how the mission's going to go. We're going to take out these enemies, and sadly, Mommy gets too cocky, and she basically gets her head bitten off, like right in one of the very early episodes. On the one hand, and we're all like, "Holy crap! What the heck? What just happened?" But on the other hand, it kind of bothered me because the rest of the season seems to be pretty dark. Like they don't know what they have themselves into. Everybody's freaking out. They don't know what to do. All to be basically revealed that this has happened to Mommy a lot of times before. Or like it's basically one of those things where it's like, oh well, in this timeline she's okay. Well, in this timeline or this universe, I don't know. I don't know. It kind of took away the impact for me if you're going to kill her off, only to say later, oh no, she's perfectly fine. Now, if they'd kind of brought a way to stick in that same universe and bring her back somehow, I could understand that. So, in my opinion, if you weren't going to do that, to just let her live. If anything, I feel like it's more powerful to have her live and kind of see the injury he's and everything, and them freaking out like, oh my god, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Because sometimes people living and seeing what they go through is kind of worse than seeing them just straight up dying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the Magica universe because I know there's what 6 or 7 series now, plus a mobile game and a whole bunch of other things.
Something like that, man. I don't know.
I know the scene you're talking about because it's the infamous episode 3 of the series, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So I would agree. I think there's some potential there for because she is supposed to be like the leader at this point. I remember
something along those lines.
I understand of the series.
Now, don't get me wrong, because it's a good death. It's just one of those weird things where it's like, why did you bother bringing her back? If like, what was the point?
Okay.
So, like I said, have her incapacitate to it for a bit, and you could have just had because a lot of girls wish for this stuff. So maybe somebody could have said, "Oh, in order to become a magic girl, I wish Mommy was okay," or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
Like I said, it's kind of a weird one, but like I said, keep her alive, but just have her like seriously incapacitated. Anyways.
All right. So my next one, I think you might have a little bit to say about, and that's I think it would be really interesting if Raditz had survived from Dragon Ball Z.
That's not the Dragon Ball character I thought you were going to go with, but sure, why not? Let's hear it.
So this really comes from I really enjoyed the Masako X. So he's the voice of Goku on the Dragon Ball Z Abridged and Gohan on the Dragon Ball Z Abridged series. He's done some what ifs, and one of his biggest ones is what if Raditz survived or what if Raditz came back. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
He's even created his own show called Dragon Ball R&R. I think there's like 4 or 5 episodes out that he created, kind of using comic book style, but animated with a little bit.
I should have auditioned when I had the chance.
But pretty much, he kind of replaces Vegeta in later parts of like where he's the one training with Goku. They're growing together from what I can tell and what I remember. There's certain elements that he takes Vegeta's place. Vegeta stays more of the anti-hero rather than becoming the family man that we see in later part of the series.
I guess my one thing would be is they never portray, like, even when in the beginning of the series when Raditz was clearly stronger than Goku, I feel like they repeatedly said Raditz is not that strong. Heck, Nappa and Vegeta, Nappa's like, oh, well, we can use the Dragon Balls to bring Raditz back, and Vegeta's like, why? We can wish for immortality, and then we're set. We don't need Raditz. So part of me, it kind of reminds me of what you said last time when you said you wish Gohan would have died and you would have seen, like, kind of how that would have affected the story. I would be okay with it if it was like hypothetically, Dragon Ball's Xenoverse. Like if it was a Xenoverse story where Gohan died, or if Raditz had stayed alive. That's honestly kind of what I want more from Xenoverse. Like more what if stories and more long term what if stories rather than just, okay, go fix it, do this one thing, and we'll be back to normal.
I can understand that. But yeah, again, I mainly put him on this list because I really like the story that Moscow X created, because he's gotten, I think, up to Super in or at least part of Super with Raditz. And again, the show Dragon Ball R&R focuses on Raditz and his daughter from his series relationship and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting.
I'll have to check that out.
All right.
Okay, so my next one.
Go right ahead.
I've talked about this. I've talked about this character before, and honestly, because I've talked about this character before in the what's it called, the anime arcs that we love thing, and part of me understands why this character had to die. I understand that completely, but I want to go with a little bit of more of like a what if scenario because I wouldn't necessarily change the arc. I would kind of keep it. Soguo's sister from Gintama.
Okay.
So I'm not going to ramble about this too much, but she basically is Soguo's sister. Whilst he's the sadistic one who acts like he doesn't care about other people, she's really nice and caring, and she even has a crush on his rival Hichikata. But like I said before, Hichikata doesn't want to get close to her because he's afraid he'll die, and that'll make her miserable. Well, so even though she does die, and it is a great moment for Sogo Hichikata, everybody as they're basically bawling their eyes out, which same, yeah. Part of the thing is because according to the creator, Sorachi, he wishes he'd have kept her alive, and to me that's always so interesting because I'm like, how do you keep her alive at this point? Because I guess part of the thing for me is it's one of those things that I always think about, like hindsight. Like if I was to create something and I did something that permanent, like a death, how would I have regrets about that? Because she was only in 2 episodes and people fell in love with this character. So I guess it's one of those things where maybe after Hichikata finally retires, they can be together, something along those lines. Not to mention just. So after that, Sogo, because his parents died years ago, and his sister was the only blood family he had left. So it would have been nice. Maybe she could have tethered him and kept him a little nicer. But I don't know. It's a bit of a weird one for me. Like I said, I put it on my list primarily because I've heard the creator said he wishes he hadn't done it. But I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I've heard a few creators mention that before, whether it's in anime or other forms of media where they say that, and it's always interesting to think, man, what if that character survived to the end, or what part would they have played in the story at this point? So I can agree with that.
Yeah. Plus, it's one of those things where it's also kind of petty on my part because I can't watch that arc without getting missy. I can't watch that arc without getting emotional. It's a hard one to get through. It's an amazing arc, but it's a hard one to get through.
I'm just counting. 1, 2.
You can count?
3. A little bit. Okay,
because I remember because we shared Neji, didn't we?
Yeah. So okay. So we have one more than one more each, and then honorable mentions, I believe.
Isn't it? Don't we do honorable mentions first?
Well, no, then a
Oh
final
yeah,
one. Sorry.
go for it. Go ahead. Okay.
Okay. So my next one is Coro Sensei from Assassination Classroom.
Yeah. Okay. Go for it.
So he, how to put this? Throughout the series, of course, the entire class has been trying to kill him to win the large amount of money that they get for killing him. He's spending all his time trying to pretty much heal the students. They all seem to have something wrong, something that's caused issues, whether it's some of them are just bad students, they struggle in their classes, and he figures out how to get through to them and help improve their grades. Others have mental issues due to different things. But in the end, he sacrifices himself. The experiments that were done to him are pretty much going to cause him to blow up the earth. Well, the last like few episodes, they're trying to figure out how to save him instead of killing him when they realize, oh, he isn't evil. He didn't destroy the moon. So I really wish that this is one of those times that I really wish that they had been successful in saving him. Um, them going back and meeting up with him years later with his new class, I think would have been because there's like a 10 years later jump or something, and the class is getting back together. I just really think that it could have been a really interesting episode with him, new class, even if he still could be a target from the government because he's got pretty much superpowers, but his new class tried to kill him. The old class just shows up and it's just hanging out, and they don't trust him because he's Squid Monster. But
I don't know. I trust every squid monster I talk to.
this is Japan, though.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah. I don't. I guess I more or less have to co-sign on to that. Even though, from what I've heard, it did make a good ending. It was just very heartbreaking.
Yeah, that's my main thing. Is I actually got uh like it made me very sad
Yeah.
when they killed him
And
off.
that's my job. My job is to make you sad.
You do it very well.
I do. Anyways, what's up? Honorable mentions time.
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, I was about to say because I did four of mine, and it's honorable mentions, then one more. Okay, how many honorable mentions do you have?
2, 3. I only have one.
I have three. So I'll do one, you do one, then I'll do my two.
Yep. Go right ahead.
Okay, the Ginyu Force.
Okay.
Okay, so here's the thing for me. Like I've said before in the best Dragon Ball fights, the Ginyu Force weren't necessarily bad guys. They were basically just getting paid to do their jobs. Honestly, if had they survived and Frieza had died, like because I talked about before, also the Ginyu Force versus Tien, Yamcha, and Chaozu, it kind of sucked. Maybe do something along the lines where all of them are still alive. They get transported back to from Namek to Earth like everybody else does, and they're basically kind of rooting for Frieza to win. And they're just like, and everyone's like, "Oh no, Frieza's dead. Like Goku won and everything." Hey, and rather than kill the Krillin or anybody could have been like, "Well, their boss is gone. They don't have anybody to really listen to anymore. If we're gonna stop you guys if you try to pull anything, but for now, just you're stuck here. You might as well enjoy it." And they want to attack. They want to attack and everything, and then Bulma could walk up and be like, "Guys, the sweets are here to celebrate," and they could be like, "Hold on, hold on." So to me, it could have been funny to see the Ginyu Force living on Earth as long. They didn't have to be integral parts of the story or anything, but a couple of funny moments here and there because, like I said, Goku and Ginyu could be the best of friends in some situations because they're both ridiculous.
Yeah. This is one that I could definitely see them of doing. I could also see them like Goku shows back up on Earth and they go, "We're no longer the Ginyu Force. We're the Goku Force."
Oh God, And plus, Ginyu telling Chi Chi is like, oh, I almost had your husband's body and came back here, and she could be like, you know what? I've heard weirder stuff from villains. You want to stay? You guys want to stay for dinner? And like, yeah, okay. Not to mention, you could have had the Tien, Chaozu, and Yamcha battle between the 3 or 4 of them. You could have had that if they improved a little bit. Plus, to me, they were just some of the most entertaining villains, and seeing them die so by somebody who wasn't even able to beat them, like Vegeta, because he struggled against Raccoon and everybody else, and he's the one who killed all of them.
Something else that could be interesting is if they stayed around, not necessarily relevant, but kind of they're at the Z fighters parties and stuff when they all get together. What if they got like follow Gohan's or teenage or not teenage adult Gohan's high school year where he becomes the Great Saiyaman, and it's
Yes!
the Ginyu Force versus the Great Saiyaman trying to who could save more people.
Yeah, also I'd say, or they have to team up and they have a 6-man pose all of a sudden. That I would be on board for that, because clearly some of his poses were inspired by the Ginyu Force.
Yeah, I can agree with this. I think this would be a really interesting one. And again, this might be something Moscow X has mentioned or done before, but
Hey, Moscow X, if you hear this, it was our idea first. That being said, though, we'd be up for help for talking to him about it. There we go.
yep.
Anyways, what's your honorable mention?
All right, so my honorable mention is Sir Night-Eye from My Hero. This is kind of this similar to what you talked about earlier, where we with Neji and Guy being switched on who dies and who lives. I kind of feel the same way. Like Gran Torino, as I said earlier, I think he should have died in the battle earlier. Wow, I'm making him drain that. And then Sir Night-Eye should have lived. There's an interesting relationship between him and All Might, and then him and Mirio, who I think could have been told more in the story at this during this season that would have been interesting, I think. But
I definitely agree. The bird guy should definitely be the next All Might. I completely agree with that.
all right, what's
No,
your
but in
next
all
two?
seriousness, I co-sign because I don't have an answer for that. So,
All right, and what's your next one or next
okay,
two?
my next one, Zayn from Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Okay, this is admittedly a bit of a complicated one because it also kind of felt like a cop out. Okay, so Zayn, the first season, we all know him as the kind of cold brother of Cyrus, who does warm up a bit as the series goes on. But during season 2, after he graduates, he loses one duel to Aster and more or less becomes like Dark Zayn, who doesn't really care about dueling for fun or learning anything, but only duels for victory. And he does these duels with these like bracelets and necklaces and everything. And they basically, every time somebody gets damaged, they get electrocuted, and he basically gets off on it. Yeah, it wasn't a very good storyline. But he returns in season 3 more or less like less evil and less sadistic, and basically dies during a duel with Yubel because they say, hey, his heart's giving out from all the duels, even though apparently that's not even legitimately the reason. The reason is because he was using his new deck, the Cyber Dark deck, which never really seemed to come in question because it's like, oh, Zayn, you're part of the Cyber Legacy, so you get the Cyber Dragon deck. I'm like, well, why wouldn't he also get the Cyber Dark deck? Why would a deck be the reason for it's not inherently evil, it's just dark cards. I don't know. If they had gone with the subplot of, oh no, his heart's giving out from all the duels, it would make sense. But not just, oh hey, it's because of the cards he's using. Especially since he just came back the next season still with a weakened heart, but like, I don't know. The whole Zayn arc was super messy in GX.
Yeah, because he tied Jaden in at the end of at his graduation. So the fact that he has a loss and that drives him insane, or in the earlier part of his where he becomes Dark Zane or whatever it is, it never really made sense to me. It's like he's not won duels before. He should be fine with this.
Yeah, to be fair, though, they did try and salvage it by saying, oh, he's lost a lot of duels in a row, but, like, most of these duels seem like they're a bunch of nobodies. Like, we never hear about any of these other duelists. Like, maybe he loses to Aster, then he loses to Sartorius or something like that. But just Aster, and then, he loses to a bunch of nobodies off screen. And we're, once again, show, don't tell.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really a lot better if, say, at the end of season 1, he and Cyrus are on a lot better terms. Have them write each other. They're emailing back and forth on like a daily basis, and have Cyrus mention that his letters are getting darker, or he's not emailing as often. Something that you see, there's some sort of personality change going on. If you can't show it, if you don't have time to show it on screen with the rest, at least have this little bit of information that slowly builds up to the big reveal of Dark Zayn, and then we get more.
Yeah, not to mention it's also just the fact of they killed him off just to bring him back at the end like everybody else. But the difference is everybody else basically, I get, for the lack of a better term, they basically lost a shadow game. So when the villain is defeated in the end, it kind of makes sense that they all get brought back. Zayn made it seem like Zayn's death was completely different just to bring him back. So either keep him dead or don't do it in the first place, like we've talked about.
Yeah, or just release 4Kids edited Yu-Gi-Oh from the first few seasons.
Yeah.
Then, so we end up with, oh, his leg's about to be chopped off. Oh, they have guns.
Yeah. Okay, so my last honorable mention.
Go right ahead.
I could have sworn this character was going to be on your list. Kimmy Maru from Naruto.
I thought about it, but I couldn't figure out where I would want him to come back and how I would want him to come back, or how he would be in the story.
Okay, so Kimmy Maru, the bone guy, basically Orochimaru's second right-hand man behind Kabuto. He was a badass, he was super powerful, but he also had a little bit of a sense of honor compared to the other Sound 4 in the Sasuke retrieval arc, because when Lee came back, and Kimmy Maru was about to kill him, Lee's like, please, wait a minute. And Kimmy Maru actually stopped. Like, he didn't even know Lee was sick at the time. He just stopped. And Lee's like, I need to take my medicine. And Kimmy Maru doesn't even hesitate. He's like, yeah, good. He basically lets him do it. He had a really fun fight with Lee both before and after he drank the sake. He had a pretty awesome fight with Gaara, well, a more redeemed Gaara. It would have been nice to have seen him not die basically right away, especially with how powerful he was. How about this? How about have Kabuto end up rescuing him and finding a way to heal him or something along those lines? And he basically kind of works with Kabuto from the shadows, kind of realizing Orochimaru didn't really care about me that much.
Or another idea that would be interesting is, okay, Lee defeats him and they bring him back to the Leaf Village, and Tsunade heals him, and it reveals that Orochimaru had a way of healing him, but decided not to waste his time or something along those lines.
That would have worked too. I guess my thing for me is I feel like he wouldn't have become a good guy as instantly as that. Maybe he starts working with Kabuto afterwards, so Kabuto has a little bit of an edge, because I feel like Kabuto kind of felt like an afterthought, even when they tried making him more important. In my opinion, it just didn't work very well.
Yeah, Kabuto, especially later on, pretty much after he was revealed to be a spy for the Akatsuki, that was then turned back to work for Orochimaru, that was also complicated and didn't feel right.
Yeah, not to mention, crap, I lost my train of thought. But yes, Kimmy Maru, I don't know. I remember Jugo. He was friends with Jugo in Sasuke's group. Maybe Sasuke would have found a way to be like, you should join our group for Jugo's sake. Maybe he could have been one of the people who was basically able to control Jugo and make him not go crazy most of the time.
Yeah, he really is a wasted character.
The worst part is they waste his character, but he's so cool too.
Mm-hmm.
Heck, in the Abridged series, he's basically still alive. He's like, dude, Orochimaru, he's not treating you right. He's like, no, And he's like, yeah, you know what? You guys can go. You guys can go ahead, do your own thing. I'm gonna go be a dentist or something. It's like, wait, but aren't you gonna die? I'm like, this series has been hiatus for years. If I was gonna die, I would have died by now. So I'm gonna go.
Yeah, I can co-sign on that one though.
Okay, I did too. Do you want to finish off yours now?
Yeah, so this one is Captain slash Admiral Okita slash Captain slash Admiral Avatar from Space Battleship Yamato or Star Blazers.
Can you get your dad in here to talk about this one?
No, he's busy doing some stuff actually right now.
Maybe next
That's why
time.
I've looked over my shoulder a few times. So I've told on this show before, this is one of the anime I watched with my dad when I was younger. So pretty much it's revealed about, I guess, 3/4 of the way through the first season that Captain Okita is sick. I believe it's the radiation from the planet bombardment that's been going on for the last like 30 years or however long it's been. I guess it's only been 5 years. 5 years. He's dying of radiation poisoning pretty much. They make it to the planet. He's bedridden. That they get what's called the Cosmo DNA and are on their way back to Earth. And they get into the solar system, and he's laying down in bed. He can see Earth, but it's the irradiated desert Earth that is what he sees, and he dies either during the final battle or right after, but he dies seeing that version of Earth. This is kind of, I would want to push, if you're going to kill him off, I understand that you're going to kill him off, but have it be that he gets to see Earth restored, because the whole point of the series is that they're going to get the Cosmo DNA to revive Earth, to turn it back blue, green, bring life back to it. He should have lived long enough to see that version of Earth and know that his mission's complete. He's managed to captain their way to save the day, and it's just disappointing where they have him die.
Is he an emotional character, or is he fairly serious?
He's fairly serious. If you type in deceased characters, he's number 1 on the list.
Yeah, I honestly, just adding a little bit to it, if he's that serious, imagine how powerful it would have been if he had like a couple of tears down his face as he had seen it. Honestly, I feel like based on everything you told me about Star Blazers, it's basically Wall-E combined with Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, but a little bit better, because Power Rangers Lost Galaxy wasn't... we didn't know why it was called that until like 30 episodes in, which wasn't really all that helpful.
And they wear the same, or wear similar suits to them. There's a red guy and a blue guy and a green guy and a yellow girl.
Oh my god, they're the same universe.
It's quite possible.
That's another video we could talk. That's another video we could talk about. But I can go sign on to that.
But yeah, a tear or something as he gets to see Earth restored would be really nice.
Okay. So my last one?
Go right ahead.
I feel bad because this is the third Naruto character I've had on this list, and I feel bad because there are probably a lot of other characters, but for a lot of characters in other anime, I can understand why they died. It sucks, but it still makes sense. This one to me made absolutely no sense in Naruto. Dosu.
I don't recognize that name, but it's been a while since I've seen Naruto.
Okay, so you remember the tuning exams, correct?
Yes.
Do you remember the Sound 3?
Okay.
There was Ken, the one I've talked about, who I have no interest in, the girl. Zaku, who got completely demolished by Shino. Dosu was the guy who beat Choji relatively easily.
Okay.
With the bandages and stuff all around his face. I thought he was one of the coolest characters growing up because he was calm, collected, a little bit sinister, but part of it, I don't know, part of me kind of felt like there was a little bit of charm to him. And because when the other proctors say, hey, you guys need to calm down, stop causing trouble, well, Dosu's like, oh, sorry. We just get a little nervous about stuff like this. And when he's talking with Anko, you can tell he has a little bit of a smile on his face, which is kind of funny. I thought his powers were super cool with sound. He's one of the few people who actually uses sound techniques in Naruto, and considering there's a place called the Sound Village, you'd think it'd be a little more prominent. But we even see in the tuning exams that he's able to go toe to toe with Rock Lee because he's able to like damage him as he's protecting Sakura. Granted, it's with Zaku's help, but I don't like to think about that. He gets killed by Gaara because he goes off on his own, because he learns Orochimaru basically wanted them to die up against Sasuke. So Dosu kind of betrays Orochimaru, like, no, we're not going to die. We're not going to be your father. And he even kind of grows a little bit of a heart because at the end he's like, Zaku, I know we weren't necessarily friends, but I'll win my battle in honor of you, basically. They could have had a really cool arc of him being like a sinister villain from the shadows wanting to destroy Orochimaru, but at the same time, maybe not even necessarily keep him as a full-on bad guy. He could have had some moments where he grew, like I said, grew a little bit of a heart. Or maybe, I don't know. You talk.
Now that I remember him, having him possibly turn against the Sound Village like during the Konoha Crush story arc would be really interesting, like where he intercepts some of the ones that are going to attack Shikamaru or something, like when he gets surrounded and he's saved by Asuma later after a little while, but
yeah,
have like there's 20 coming and only 10 are attacked by Asuma and then the other 10 are taken out by him or something. That would be really interesting.
Yeah, especially since the other two weren't really portrayed as that competent, but he was kind of portrayed above them, only for him to show up to Gaara and be like, hey, I want to fight Sasuke in the tuning exam, so you have to die, Gaara. And Gaara destroys him really easily. I don't know. I felt like the potential for the character was super, super hot. Honestly, I don't know if I'd have him survive Shippuden or anything like that, but he would have been a really cool character. Not to mention, if they ever did this Dream Naruto game that we every now and then bring up, he'd be somebody amazing to learn under, especially with all, because half of his techniques he doesn't have to touch you for.
I mean, you don't even have to keep him that much in the series. Have him be like, because there's a few scenes where they're flipping through a bingo book of Rogue Ninja, and have him be in the book
Exactly,
like, with the sound symbol and all that, and wanted for desertion or something, or him, because that way he can still be a bad guy. But he's off doing his own thing at this point.
Heck, imagine how much cooler the Hebi or the Taka, I don't know, they went through like 3 name changes. If it was Sasuke, Jugo, Suigetsu, Karin, Kimmy Maru, and what's his name? I just talked about Dosu. A 6-person group, that would be dangerous. I would be terrified of that group. Not that they were horribly used. I felt like they didn't do a whole lot. I don't know. That's my thing, though.
Yeah, I can agree with that one. And it's an interesting character that wasn't that prominent, besides getting killed by Gaara, pretty much.
Yeah, and I hate to bring this up, but in the abridged series, the scene is completely different. Like, first of all, he has the voice of Stitch from Lilo and Stitch, basically.
I seem to remember that.
Yeah, and he loves collecting Pokemon cards.
Okay, I don't remember that part.
Yeah, and because Shikamaru at the tuning exam's like, wait, I'm supposed to fight that Dosu guy. What happened to him? And it flashes back, and Dosu says, hey, Gaara, I need some kitty litter. Can I borrow some sand? And Gaara's like, oh yeah, sure, here. Oh god, that's too much! And then he basically gets crushed under it. And he's still alive somehow. He's basically he's singing the beer bottle song. He's just like, really? I hope somebody comes to get me at this point. I'm like, I would come to get you at this point. But yeah, Dosu was a super cool character who could have he could have been given so much more, in my opinion.
So what do y'all think of our lists? Do you agree with all of our choices? Do you disagree with any of them? Who would you want to have survived when they were killed off in their series?
Yeah, and and let us know if you would have had the characters die at a different point, or if you would have just kept them alive, because that's perfectly fine at this point.
Yeah, I mean, again, a lot of this was these characters had potential and then were left pretty much on the cutting room floor when they were shortly after they were revealed.
Yeah, basically that, and just let us know, please, because yeah, we're still coming up with more ideas for videos, but these felt pretty unique. These past few felt pretty unique to do, because not a lot of people talk about this all that often. The main thing they talk about is for Naruto, and yeah, admittedly we went into that a little bit, but there were others for us.
Yep.
But anyways, we'll see you guys next time. This has been Alex.
And Richard.
And you've been listening to the Anime Egotists. Good night, and peace easy.